Hello, all you beautiful, wonderful, amazing tea people, and welcome to a finally, I don't know, I don't know whether, anyways, it's a chilly day. It's a chilly day. And I've been wanting to drink these on a live, been wanting to drink these teas, but it's finally the weather to be drinking Shou mini tools from the 1980s. And so that's what we're going to be drinking today. You can see here's one here. I will be releasing these on Sunday. I've just been doing the math on how to price them out because everything is new. And remember, before we get started with this, please, please, please remember, I am not a poor anything. I basically know nothing about it. I know the difference between pours and various things like that, but I know nothing about it. So if you see me say anything wrong or do anything wrong, then please, please jump in, correct, write it in the comments, because I am new at this. Now, I don't know if, well, maybe we'll get into that later. I don't know whether people are interested in hearing that story again, but, back in the day, when I first started, I was like, oh, so poor too. And I got burned. Thankfully, no one actually got burned in the sense of money wise, but I got burned in the sense of don't believe everything that you hear. And so I stayed away from it forevermore. And so this is what we're looking at here. So you can see these guys right here. These are about, each one of these are about 5 grams or so. And you can hear the guys coming in for their coffee break again this morning. So those are about 5 grams each. And you can see here, you open it up and you've got the mini tool. Now, apparently they're from the 1980s. I am not exactly sure if they are from the 1980s. Somebody who knows more than me, please, please let me know if they are not from the 1980s. But I've been told by everybody who I've sort of asked and sort of been around and talked to about these things that yeah, it fits about right. And you know what? It tastes pretty good, and it seems to me to be pretty clean, and all of that. Anyways, let's get going. What am I doing? How am I drinking it? Well, obviously you got to pick a cold day. On the hot days, this doesn't really work that well. But you can see I'm using this teapot right here, which is you could probably use a wood-fired or a stronger teapot to brew the Shou pours. You definitely could. I'm going to try this first and see how much of the sort of the poorness of the tea gets in here and how much it sort of stays in there, because I drink a lot of oolongs. Now, we'll get into that in a minute. But first, here we go. You can see here, this is the sort of the first wash of this beautiful tea. And I'm sort of just going to wash everything and, and just sort of go through the steeps. Now, these types of teas, it's so funny. You know how smells bring back memories, right? There's something that connects right to your brain through your nose. And this, these Shou pours, they just, and there is this smell, and it's so funny from the 90s anyways, not so much the 80s. And again, if anybody knows if these are not actually from the 1980s or whatever, maybe they're from the 90s or maybe they're from, anyways, the point is, I grew up in Toronto, which is a great big sort of metropolis-y North American type of city. And it is a city that has, it's a very, 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 very multicultural place, and it's so funny because I'm sure I said this before, but the first time I went to Hong Kong, I was very disappointed in the food. and I was very disappointed in the food because Toronto has some of the best Hong Kong style food in the entire world. And when I was growing up, I used to love going to, it was on Dundas and Spadina. There was a restaurant called King Noodle, and they would do, the crispy sort of Cantonese style noodles. And they had a tea that was just like this, but it was sticks. Like you'd open it up and you'd look in, and it was just like was just sticks, stems. And the origin story of Shou sort of has Hong Kong in there in some ways and things like that. But it was, whenever I smell this, and in general, the Shou in general, I always just go right back to that spot. Now, you can see the first go round of this tea was, not so dark, but check that out. Check out how, I don't want to get that too close to the computer there. But you can see how clean and clear and how dark that gets so fast. I'm actually really looking forward. I woke up this morning and it was a little pitter patter of rain, and you could tell it was gloomy and cold. And I was like, I get to drink some of that Shou. And I am, with, it's so funny, right? Because you look at it, obviously I can't show this on the camera right now, but you look at it and it does that thing. Sometimes the really good tea photographers will get like a loamy Shou or a really good thick tea, and then there'll be the little things on top, and they'll be able to take a picture of the little things on top of the. You can't really do that with Taiwanese tea. I mean, there's some teas that you sort of, but you can't really do that with Taiwanese tea. But this has it, and so it's just a whole other world, right? I'm used to the Taiwanese teas. I'm used to the Taiwanese taste points. I'm used to that. And this is a warm, loamy, wormy earth, healthy, clean earth. You drink it, and then you just get from here, you get that warming sensation that comes out of your belly. Like you can just feel it. Now, a lot of the charcoal roasted teas, you can sort of get that same thing coming. You can get that same sort of warming feeling coming from your belly. But I mean, let's face it, you cannot get it on the same level that you can get it with the Chinese teas. You just can't. It just doesn't work. And this is exactly that. Now, story behind this tea, of course, is I was at the tea show and I was there with my friend, and there was a guy right beside him, and we got to talking, and it was like a big like a big booth. There we go. I remembered the word. That's good. It was a big booth. And so my buddy was sharing the booth with a guy selling a bunch of pu'er teas. And there was, I remember I think it was last year, when I was moving around. You can see I'm doing really short steeps on this. Like you can see how strong this tea is. Like, look at that. That's the second steep, and you can't even see through it. Right? You can see how sort of clean and clear that is. There are no Taiwanese teas that do this. None. Not a single Taiwanese tea that does this. And we got to talking. And last year, when I was moving shop, I found a couple kilograms of mini pucks. Right? There's the mini pucks and the things. And I tried one. It was about 5-6 years old now, and it was leathery and earthy and just beautiful. And I sent it out to some people, right? So I sent it out in a subscription, and I actually sold it as well. And I got all these emails like, "Holy, that was awesome! Thank you so much for sharing that with us. How can I get more?" And I went, "I don't know." That was sort of an accident from when I first started up, and I bought some Chinese teas that I didn't like. Well, wrong. Anyways, I won't go into that whole story. I liked the teas, and I still do. I still got some of the cakes. So I'll give them away in March for the big sale in March. I'll give away some of those tea cakes that are 5 years old now. But that was what I was doing. I was experimenting with that, and these were brand new Shou, and they smelled like dirty fish. Hey man, how's it going? They smelled like dirty fish. And they taste a little better than dirty fish, but I was like, and I just stuck it on a shelf. 5 years later, I'm like, oh, that's still on the shelf. And it was wonderful. And this is like next level. Same as that, but adding another 15 years. Now, again and again and again, I'm going to say this. I just put in some order for some teas. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it greatly. And I don't know. Have I already sent it out yet? I didn't get any orders today. I was like, wow, I get to actually do a live stream and sort of rest a little bit. It's been a while since I last ordered. If it was just now, then I'll throw in samples of this if you want it. And anyways, what was the point? The point was there was a beautiful, beautiful, just ordered. Well, there you go. I'll throw in a couple of these for you if you want it. If you want it, of course. And I really liked it as well. And I drank it, some of them. I've still got a couple left, but I drank it during the cold weather. And so I've been searching and searching and searching for that same, well-aged Shou that was clean and that was, like with my experiment into the whole pu'er world, right? It's not like I was just naive, right? And the guy was like, yeah, there's some 500-year-old tea tree in it, and I sold it for exactly what the right price was. And anyways, we won't get into that story right now. But the point is that his stuff was clean. It was clean. It was decent stuff. It was good. Now, again, fast steeps on this stuff. Fast steeps. Okay, perfect. So I'll throw a couple of those in the order. I'm going to be releasing them on Sunday anyways. And this is sort of the same thing. Anyways, the whole point is last year really got on my radar. I got to do this. But it's really, really hard to find good Shou pu'er. It's really, really tough, right? Because it's not the remember the story. Which part? And so it's really hard to find good, clean stuff because especially sort of the early 2000s, that was the worst time for Chinese teas. No, sorry, not the early 2000s. The 2008 till 2020 in there. That's when the big, huge sort of the boom happened, and a lot of really crap tea got made. And so this again is sort of the older teas, right? So this is apparently from the 1980s, and everybody I've talked to has said, yeah, that fits the whatever for the 1980s, and the way it tastes, the way it feels, like I can feel this thing just right sitting at the top of my stomach right here, just going and radiating out. I love it. I absolutely love it. And so this beautiful Shou pu'er gives me the sort of that same feeling as that tea from before. And so when I saw it, I'm like, okay, give it to me. Just give me all you got. Well, not all they got, but I bought a lot. And it's one of those teas that in many ways goes against the ethos of mountain stream teas. And the ethos is, you know the garden, you know the farmer, you know everything about it, blah, 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 blah. You know everything about it. I don't know what year it was. I don't know what mountain it is. I don't know anything about it. I know nothing about it other than when I drink it, it makes me feel good, makes me feel warm, goes like this. It seems to be, like you look at it, like it's everything that a Shou should do. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that are really going to enjoy it. A lot of people are really, really going to enjoy this tea. Yes, Shou, the first real Shou I've ever had on the site. And again, I'm going to open up another one of these. I'll give it a little undressing. And please let me know if this looks not from the 1980s. What I'm just going to call it 1980 Shou Mini Tools, because that's everybody that I've talked to said that's what it looks like, right? So So you can see it's sort of like a waxy paper, sort of like this. You open it up, and then you've got a sort of, you can see it's pressed like this, right? It looks different than a lot of the modern stuff, but that's sort of what it looks like. And everybody that I've said has said, yeah, the stuff from there looks like that. How's it taste? Blah, blah, blah. So I've done my homework, but I am, oops, this is going to be a thick one. that's going to be a thick, steep. But I am by no means an expert with Shou puers. Nest is what they call it. Well, there we go. I'm learning something new every day. Always push yourself, right? Always. That's what it's really about, enjoying it. It's nice to know. It's nice to know everything, but ultimately loving it is what matters. Is this the 80 Shou? Yes, yeah, the 80 Shou. Yes, well, and you know, that's one of the things, right? It's like, I've been doing this long enough where something like this comes across, I can be like, you know what, I want to share it. And it's certainly not expensive. You know, they're going to be, you know, for a tea of this quality and this age, you know, it's cheap, right? And so it'll be around, I don't know, if you buy a little bit, it'll be about $2 a thing, and then the more you buy, the cheaper it'll get, right? So you can, you know, this thing makes tea, like, it's just cost effective, blah 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 blah. But it's time, right? If I'm able to find one of these teas, then I'm going to try and share it for everybody, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I am like. Maybe people will try it and they'll say, "You've been lied to," and then, you know, I'll be like, "Well, no one got ripped off." That's what it boils down to. No one got ripped off. I'm not selling these for $10 each, claiming that they will, you know, elevate your chakras or whatever. So, you know, if this is a $2 drink and you can make, like, I don't know, I bet you could make liters upon liters upon liters of tea with this, like gallons. It's just it's so thick and beautiful. No one's getting ripped off. No one is getting ripped off. And that, for me, is, you know, the heart of it. Now, I do have a problem, right? I don't know where it's from. I don't know who made it. I don't know how it was stored. I don't know its line of knowledge. Like, the vast majority of the teas on the site, like 99% of the teas on the site, the chain of knowledge has literally 2 rungs. The farmer, me, you, 3 rungs, just 3. All right, that's it. The farmer, me, you, that's it. There's nothing in between. There's no middle. Well, I guess I'm the middleman, but there's no, like, you know, moving it from here to here and trading it around. This one, who knows, right? I'm not going to claim I know. I don't know where these came from or what, but like I said, I'm sitting here. Actually, I have an empty stomach, right? So, you know, empty stomach, and it's warming. It makes me full. It makes me happy. It's just sort of like, you know, it's good. It's good. How's the compression? Does it open up fairly easily? Does it open up fairly easily after the first brew, or say a quick rinse? So this is a great question. Right now, this is what, like the 4th steep. It is completely opened up. It's like the first rinse doesn't do much, but I will say this: the first rinse, sort of the outsides of the mini tool, there's a lot of smaller pieces of tea leaves, and they usually get sort of washed out with the first rinse. But the second one sort of opens it up. The third one a little bit more. By the 4th one, I can't remember if this is the 4th or the 5th. Well, you can't see. It's basically completely opened up. There is, no, I shouldn't say that, actually. I just looked in the corner. Here it is maybe 1/4 left of the little ball. Overall, I would say not exceptionally fast and not exceptionally slow, but I'm not an expert on Shou mini pour tours. So I cannot say. I would I'm not impressed either way. Like, impressed isn't the right word, but it didn't shock me either way, how fast it opened up or how slow. You're right. It's hard to find good show. Well, in my experience, good show is usually bought by people who really know good show. And if you have it, why would you ever sell it? Right? It's because it's cheap. It's a daily drinker. It's like one of those things where you can, uh, you can. Why would you ever get rid of it if you get it and it's good? Right? I mean, that's the thing with the show. It's cheap. You buy a bunch of it. You're like, wow, that was really good. You buy a bunch of it, sells out really fast, and then you don't move it. Is there a percentage of caffeine? If so, how much? The caffeine question. First off, everybody's different. Number two, the only thing that really affects caffeine, well, two things affect caffeine: how high up the leaf it is. The higher up the leaf you go, there's more caffeine. So like the little tips have the most amount of caffeine, and whether it's been roasted or not. Age impacts it slightly, but not that much. I would say for this, there's absolutely no way to test it unless you spent a lot of money. But I would say for this, I would say it's a lower mid level of caffeine. I don't think it's the tips of the leaves, although I'm sure there's some tips in there. It would have been more of the leaves. It's aged. It's certainly not roasted. But what you're looking at is sort of mid level. It's certainly not making me jittery or anything like that when it comes to caffeine. Oftentimes that too is chemicals, like agrochemicals. So many times people say, "Oh, I have a reaction to caffeine. It makes my heart palpitate," and I always feel bad because chances are, it's not really the caffeine that's doing it. It's probably the phosphate-based fertilizers. Anyways, the point is, but not everybody, right? Probably. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to go down that road. But this one would be right in the middle. If you're sensitive to caffeine, you could probably drink this up to about the mid-afternoon. Again, everybody's different. For me, right, I'm sensitive to caffeine. I could drink this as sort of the mid-afternoon and still be okay in the evening. Whereas, say, a high mountain oolong or something like that, mid-afternoon might keep me up in the evening. It's a little bit more muted like that. So I could drink this as a breakfast, midday cup of tea, iced or hot, correct? Everybody's different. I would say try it and see how it went, but yeah, probably. Also, too, you have to remember that these guys, what you could do with this, for example, right? And again, I'd suggest washing it, right, to do a rinse. But you could, for example, get a big, huge thing of water, rinse it, and then drop it in, and then let it sit for as long as you want, like a big thing of water, and then cool it. And so you can like, this thing will make so much tea. It will make so much tea, right? Just sort of the nature of what Shou is. It just makes so much tea. Now you can see right now I am heating up the water again. I don't do this oftentimes with sort of like the Taiwanese teas and things like that. I don't need to. But with the Shou pours, they really do their best had hot or cold, right? You can do cold with them as well, of course. But they're best had sort of piping hot, especially with this weather. And so I don't have to do that with the Taiwanese teas. I can just have hot water and drink it as we go. How many liters can that one pod make? Absolutely 100%. It totally depends on your personal preferences. It totally depends on your personal preferences. And when I say personal preferences, that means, like, watch this, right? So here we go. I'm going to pour this out right now. And if you've been sort of watching the steeps as I go along, you can see that they're getting sort of darker and darker. This one's slightly lighter, right? So this one's slightly lighter. Actually, no, it's still pretty dark. But if you like it it's slightly lighter. But if you like it sort of like that, you're going to have less. If you're okay with it just having sort of a little bit of the taste of it and things like that, then, you make a lot more. it can make a lot more, right? Like, so I don't really know. I can't really tell. And honestly, I haven't experimented, but I would say that what is this, the fourth or the fifth steep, something like that. This would easily be making, you know, with decent taste, I would say a gallon of tea. Um, Shou pour on its own doesn't wake me up. However, if you brew a large mug of one or two of those toes and then add a shot of espresso, holy moly, clean and warm and feeling alertness. Well, I'll be. We've got ourselves a. That sounds like a coffee shop idea to me. That sounds like a coffee shop idea to me. You know, like that sounds uh, that sounds like a good drink. Do you recommend the tea iced or mainly to drink hot? Well, I'm in Asia, and so I have to be very careful with my answer because in Asia, well, it depends on your generation, but generally speaking, cold drinks are terrible. Never have cold drinks ever for any reason. It destroys your body. That being said, I would say totally depends on the weather. If you are drinking cold tea at the wintertime, you're going to have a bad time. It's gonna mess you up. If you are drinking cold tea in the summertime, then depending on how you do it, of course, it's really nice. It's really nice. So, would I say a recommendation for all of this? Absolutely not. But I would say just be careful with your sort of your body temperature and things like that. The dirty poor. Hey, hey, teacher little teapot, who calls it the dirty poor? Can you give me some names? I would like to interact with the community of people that one came up with that drink and two named it the dirty poor. I would be curious. I would be curious about that. Um, Thank you for the cultural insight. Well, yes, and like right now, I try not to drink any cold anything. Actually, um, uh, but I'm in Asia, right? So that's sort of just part of it. Um, I've heard about how the drink from the tea spot. The tea spot. What is the tea spot? Anyways, uh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe someday I'll try that. But I've talked about this before. But my wife, she likes to boil the heck out of high quality tea and add milk and sugar to it to make the best milk tea on the planet. And she has done that with this tea, and it was really quite good. She just boiled the heck out of it, and she made a really nice milk tea out of this. So that seems counterintuitive. I was like, "Are you sure?" It was quite nice. How easy it for you to sell internationally? In fact, I sell only internationally. So if you go to the website mountstreamteas.com, you can see I ship everywhere that I can from Taiwan. And so if you're interested in trying out some of the teas, uh, then have at it. And part of my business model is I leverage the cheap shipping from Taiwan. So it's free shipping over 35 or 32 US dollar order, then you get free shipping. I believe I am the cheapest in the space when it comes to free shipping. And I'm for equivalent teas, I'm by far the cheapest in the space. like it's not no contest. Every once in a while, I'll go on a competitor's website and be like, "Oh, I know where you got that tea." Okay, whatever. You're based somewhere else. You're doing something else. I'm not going to say anything, but anyways, for equivalent tea, it's a great tea shop based in Colorado. They have a website. Okay, perfect. Maybe I'll look it up. That's it's a good idea. Maybe I'll try it one time. Maybe I'll try it one time. I don't know. I don't like mixing worlds. You know, like when I put food on my plate, I don't like the gravy touching the mashed potato. No, actually, but I don't know. I should try it just for the sake of saying that I tried it. Uh, agree to the coffee shop idea. Love a good milk tea. Yes. Well, I mean, I know you're not supposed to like say that stuff, but you know, a good high quality milk tea, like Ruby 18, when well, I don't know if everybody can do it, but when my wife does it, creates this amazing milk tea that's like a chai, sort of like a chai, and but it's like a Taiwanese chai, so it doesn't have the. I'm going to be careful with my words. It's like a Taiwanese chai. I really like it. I really like it because you get like obviously with the Ruby 18, especially when you boil the heck out of it, you get a lot of flavor profiles, a lot of spices and things like that coming out of it. Mm. See, and this, it's nice. It's low. It's works really well that way. Sweet Asamaka, yes, for sure. Right, the Sweet Asamaka. I'm probably going to pack up that tea today. It'll be on the site again on Sunday. Both of those teas, the Sweet Asamaka and the Honey Black Oolong, are a little bit more black tea this year, a little bit slightly less sweet than last year. But the Sweet Asamaka absolutely uh, makes a great sort of milk tea. Like it's just next level Lipton, right? Like if you like I was testing it out this week, and I just kept drinking it because I was like, how is this possible? It's an Asamaka, but I add boiling water to it, let it sit for an hour, come back and drink it sort of lukewarm, and there's no bitterness or no astringency at all. It's just like warm, sort of sweet Asamaka flavor to it. It's such an amazing. It just doesn't make sense. It literally doesn't make sense how you can have that high a quality Asamaka because you know for example the number 8 Asamaka black tea is a wonderful amazing tea, but it's a black tea, it's an Asamaka, it's strong. You know, you can't just let it sit forever and not expect to get that little kick. But with that the Sweet Asamaka, you just stick it in hot water and it doesn't kick your ass like Asamaka usually does. It's really great. Did you say it makes a good milk tea? This, yeah, I guess you could say it makes a good milk tea. Yeah, it's weird. Depends on the milk tea you're used to. It makes a very strange milk tea. But yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing with this, right? The taste profile is woody, earthy, loamy, wide mouth feel, sort of opening up your stomach and warming it up. Like you just feel it just like helping with digestion type of idea. It's smooth. And it's just one of those things where you're like, if you like that flavor profile, add milk to it, add honey to it, do whatever you want to it. Drink it hot, drink it cold. You're gonna enjoy it, right? You're gonna enjoy the tea. It's just a nice Shou, but it's not like a tea where you would want to sit and sort of like you could do that, but it's not the same. You know, like a really expensive a tea where you're sitting and you're really working on the steeps and you're like sort of sitting, really enjoying watching all the steeps kind of taste the same. You know, like they do. The earlier ones are a little bit stronger. The ones that you're not getting big differences in the steeps, right? So it's you can boil this and it's not gonna literally just brewed some of your 3 shades of Bashen. This year's one, it should be coming in today. Amazing, amazing. It's better than last year's. It's better than last year's. creamy tropical fruit. Anyways, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Does your wife use whole milk, half and half, sweet cream on her tea? That, and so I'm not laughing because of the question. I'm laughing because here in Taiwan, we don't have any of that. We have milk. We don't have 1% or 2% or half and half, or we have Tetra Pak, like 35% milk fat stuff, and then we have milk, and there's nothing in between. There's no added sugar. Like you can get, I guess they've got like chocolate milk or whatever, things like that. But there's nothing like that. There's just milk, and then there's like whipping cream. There's nothing in between, and so it's just milk. I guess whole milk. We went back to Canada, and you want a cultural experience? So I took my kids back to Canada, and they open up the fridge and they get to Canada and they look inside and there's a bag full of white liquid, and they look at it and they go, "What is that?" And I said, it's like, well, in Canada, son, milk comes in a bag. They've never seen anything like it before. It's pretty absurd when you think about it. And so, yeah, milk comes in a bag in Canada, and there's 1% or 2% or all that stuff. And they really didn't like Canadian milk. They really didn't like it because it tastes like water to them, right? Like 1% or 2%, whatever it is in Canada, it really tasted like water to them. And then, before we left, I'm like, okay. So we went to like because remember, North America's got some good milk. So we went to like the fancy organic store, and we got this organic milk where it was like the top, like it's a glass bottle, and the top this much was all cream, and we took it home and shook it up and drank it, and they were like, oh my God, best milk I've ever had in my life. And it really was one of the best milks I've ever had in my life as well. But what is the story? I apologize. I cannot answer your question other than to say milk. Tea drop this Sunday. Yes. Yes. It's amazing. Absolutely going to pick up more. Well, the Three Shades it's not cheap, but it is. I feel bad because I wish I had more of a background to see how it compares to the Bashan. Again, the eight immortals. Eight gods, eight immortals. That was the Chinese versions of these teas. I just don't know. You can't get that stuff in Taiwan. And so I wish I knew more about what it was, like the differences, the nuances between that. Maybe somebody out there can throw that in. Maybe somebody, if you tried the Three Shades, or even if you can just give us like the eight immortal Bashan Chinese teas, what is that flavor characteristic, the typical flavor characteristic? Throw it in the chat if you can. But I don't really know how it compares, but I will tell you, it's nothing like any Taiwanese teas. Like creamy tropical fruit as a flavor profile is not a Taiwanese tea flavor profile. Really yellow, right? Taiwanese teas are greenish yellow, green. That's I don't know how you there's probably a word for that, but that's how I feel the teas, right? Green and red, Christmas colors, deep red, deep green, but that tea is yellow. It's just yellow, tropical fruit yellow. Yeah, it'll be released on Sunday for sure. I don't like leather milk tea. I got my order. Too bad I can't smell anything. Your vanilla seems pretty decent. I tested on people who can actually smell it. Mr. Moose, are you sick? You got a stuffed up nose? And that is a very valid comment, right? No absolute value judgment. I do not like leather milk tea. That is a fair comment. Yeah, I'm saying. Well, I hope you get better. I hope you get better soon. But I'll tell you, you want to know when you're getting better? If you're anywhere around that vanilla, when you start smelling that vanilla, you know you're on the mend. Now, you probably won't be able to taste, but you'll be able to smell that vanilla. When you start smelling that vanilla, you'll be like, okay, I'm getting better. I'm getting better. because it's strong. It's definitely strong. I still haven't heard from a vanilla expert, like a certified vanilla expert, to tell me what the sort of the general or average quality uh, of Taiwanese vanilla is. So if you know anybody who's an expert, please give them some. Or if you know somebody who is and would be open to me sending them some vanilla, I'll send it for free. I really want to know. I know Taiwanese tea, right? Um, I can smell the vanilla at least if I huff the bag. Yes. And now everybody you walk towards will be like, "Do you smell vanilla?" If you get that right in your face, you'll be covered in vanilla for sure. Bashan as a dankong, when I've had it, is a floral resiny sweetness with some tropical fruit, an interesting musk note at times, and if it's a lao kong, can detect. Oh, there's more. There's more. Well, thank you, Cam. That is sort of what I'm getting from that, right? Kong Wei in Chinese, which is literally the taste of the bush. Perhaps a deeper root structure has mossy mineral quality. That sounds awesome. Now, the first part of that comment is absolutely what you get with the Taiwanese Bashan, but it's not old bush, right? These tea trees probably 10 would be my guess, about 10 years or so. But that sounds about right. Sounds about right for that. But it oftentimes I feel that they in China, it seems to me that they oxidize it, sort of mid oxidization, whereas these are, anyways, it's a weird oxidization level. It's not quite mid, it's not low. Anyways, it's called Three Shades of Bashan because it's white, green, and oolong tea all mixed together. And this year it is amazing. Amazing. It really is. It's really amazing. Uh, Tropical fruit, for sure. Bashan Dankong also seems a little roasty, toasty to me. Maybe some of the minerality. I think that's also part of the terroir, like the way that they make it. I think there is more of like in that area of China. Usually, there's a bit of a roast that goes along with it as well. Uh, Maybe I don't even want to. Don't listen to me. I know nothing about sort of Chinese tea. I am a Taiwanese tea expert. I will happily say that I am an expert on Taiwanese tea. Anything else? Go find somebody else if you want conclusive information. So here we go. After how many steeps? I don't know, 7 or 8 steeps. You can see it's lightening up. The flavor is still there, but it's obviously lighter. And those first 2 or 3 steeps, those are serious. They are thick, meaty, loamy, earthy. And then, as you keep going, just keeps going. Roasty floral to me. Your Bashan seems very different to me, more of that tropical that you speak of. There we go. And China is vast. And so when we're talking about Bashan, everyone's experiences of that are probably pretty different. Taiwanese Bashan, not that different. Vast is not a word I would use for the amount of Taiwanese Bashan. Dankong, I was trying to think of the name. Yeah. I think I have the tea you're talking about, and I think I still have some of the 8 Immortals. I have to try them together and let you know. We'll go for it. And yeah, I mean, there's no, with that type of stuff, with those types of places and those types of teas, if anybody tells you there's only one way or the right way or blah blah blah, just run away from them. Just run because they're liars, and they're trying to sell you something. Because they're there's a typical type of those types of teas, and then you get variations, and China is vast. Your Bashan is spectacular. I think it's really, really unique. I think it's really, really fun too, because it's, I keep saying it. I don't have the background for the Chinese teas, but for Taiwanese teas, it's so different, and it's really, really fun. And it's not mine, right? The one I have, I don't make it. I just basically I curate good people, and so that's my, I I use my superpowers of deduction to curate good people. And so when I find those good people, I'm like, okay, I'll buy all the tea that you make, is basically what it boils down to. And so from that particular fellow, the Bashan is coming in. I said before, like I bought some of that roasted wui. I'm just going to sit it on a shelf for a long time and let it come into its own. And then he also makes the wintergreen white ruby. And so he makes the wintergreen white ruby. And so he forgot to send me the sample. So when that tea comes in, hopefully I'll be able to get more of the wintergreen ruby white tea back in again. Because I know there's some people who just love that. They just fall in love with it, just like that. Especially the Chilai people. Yes, well, the Chilai people especially. But remember, they don't do much. I mean, they do the black tea, but they do oolong and they do the black tea, and that's about it. But somebody in Ningjian who has lots of different cultivars, and the teas like just pump out leaves, they can try so many different things. So many different things. I tried your first batch of the 3 shades, and it was definitely nice and definitely a unique Taiwanese tea. Yes, yeah. The oolong is great too. I think so too. I think the oolong is great. But in general, with most things in life, if somebody does one thing good, chances are the other things they do good are also really good. If they're sharing it, right? If they're, like if I've got 5-year track record of just doing really sort of good, clean teas, I'm probably not going to get a really crappy, dirty tea and sell it for a lot of money and lie to people. Like it's just sort of the way it is. And so those guys, like, for example, the Nanhu garden. For the Nanhu garden this year, it rained so much that he was like, I'm not even going to do the wintertime tea. It's not going to taste good enough. So he just didn't do it. He didn't do a wintertime pick, which sucks for him. But, if he's got a substandard tea that he's not feeling like, buy this tea, right? So, and you can hear that, right? Smart people can hear that, or in touch people. It's not smart. It's just in touch. You can hear like, this is a good tea, or this is a good tea, like you can absolutely hear the difference when people, sorry, be on my toe, if they're selling something they don't believe in. And so he just didn't even make the tea, right? Just didn't even make the tea. Okay. So I think we're getting close to the end here. Now you can see here, I don't know how many steeps that was. It was a lot. And now we're getting to the point where there's still actually quite a lot of flavor, but it's a lighter, sort of more goldeny thing. And you can see it's not a high quality tea in the context of, there's a lot of pieces of tea in there, right? It's an old Shou pour, but it's nice, it's warming, it's filling. This tea will be released on Sunday, along with the honey black oolong, along with the sweet asamaka, along with the 3 shades of Bashan. So that's 5 teas. I feel bad about it. I feel bad in the context of, you guys bought so much tea like 2 weeks ago, like so many orders, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna send out I feel apologetic. I'm like, in some ways, it kind of feels greedy. At the same time, I'm like, like, I've got them. I'm gonna put them. You can buy them later, sort of a thing. But yeah, there will be those teas released this weekend, and then nothing until mid-January. So even if I get teas in, I am not going to release them until sort of mid-January. That's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen until mid-January because I feel kind of, I kind of feel like if you guys don't want to buy anything, it's no problem. I won't take it personally, right? Anyway, so whatever. I'll stop talking. What were the price estimates? I missed price discussion. So all the teas that I mentioned will be basically about the same. So no change on the on any of the teas that I mentioned. So the 3 shades will be the same price. The honey black oolong and the sweet Asamaka will be the same price. I guess it was only 4 teas. Why am I thinking 5? Yeah, just 4 teas. And this one will be for lower amounts, about $2 a tool, and then the more you buy, the cheaper it'll be. All right. So if you buy more of it, then it'll be cheaper. It basically works out to the same price as an oolong. Basically about the same price as an oolong. Not all that different. Each one of these is about between 5 and 6 grams, about 5 or 6 grams. I think I was going to be like 10 for 18, I think was the price that I worked out. And then, 5 for 10. And then, anyways, around that. I think it was like 20 for 35 or something like that. Anyways, it works out to be about the same as one of the mid-priced oolongs, which is how much it costs. For a tea like this, so that I should go do some research and see what other people are charging for it, but I don't care. I don't care what other people are charging for it. Let them charge whatever they want to charge. This is going to be about the same as an oolong, give or take. Sort of same stuff. And it's worth it. It's worth it. It's a great, fun little tea. Any questions about anything else? Any last questions? I hope everybody out there, you sleep absolutely wonderfully well tonight. Today is, like I said, a sort of a gloomy, wintry day. I think the contrast behind me on the YouTube just keeps going in and out, but whatever. If you guys are watching some random bearded guy drink tea in front of his screens on his back porch, probably don't care too much about the contrast. It's more about the content. But, there we go. Anyways, wherever you are in the world, I certainly hope you have an amazing morning, evening, night, and all of that. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next live stream.